Hi, I'm Alyssa Small, and I've been into cosplay for about 30 years. I started at Toronto Trek 3, and my first costume there was a Star Trek costume. And then the following year, Toronto Trek 3 or 4, I did a Star Wars Jedi, and then from then on I was mostly in a Jedi or a Mara Jade costume. I didn't really follow the Star Trek line. And after that, it was Anime North. I helped with Anime North a lot back in the earlier days, mostly the bagging stuff. So I've been around at all the cosplays and different events and that for it. We were there when Fan Expo started, and so it's been quite a journey. Some of my other first costumes were elves. I did Squirrel Girl and She-Ra, the old She-Ra, and I did, think of all the things I've done. I've done Wonder Woman, I've done a Wraith Queen from Stargate. In Star Wars, I've done lots of different Star Wars costumes, from Padme to Rey to Mara Jade, Governor Price. Working on Stormtroop armor right now, so hoping to get my first order done. I've also do a first order flag officer. I troop with the 501st on the side of doing all my other cosplays. And other cosplays, I also troop with or ride with my horse. And I've done She-Ra costumes with her and Wonder Woman and Hawk Girl and a bunch of elves, lots of elves. I'm working on a Dragon Prince costume, so I've been sourcing out costume ideas to do Raylar. So a lot of my stuff I'll find online or in garage sales. A lot of the stuff I found in garage sales. The gloves were garage sales. These bracers, if you're looking to buy bracers and buy all these parts, you look up John Smith. He's a fellow online, and he makes, Adam Smith. He makes all the leather armor and all that locally in the area. And my other costumes I've done is I've done a fox hunting costume, which was a cross between Steampunk and actual horse riding. A little fun I did a few years ago here at Steampunk Festival. I've done a Twi'lek. I've done many Twi'leks from Star Wars. So the big Lagoose gown. I built my own Lagoose, and then I bought my Lagoose this time off of Pam Simpson, who makes them online, and she makes the best Lagoose ever. If you're looking for Lagoose to wear for Star Wars and that, she makes them. Other outfits I've done are I've done the Wraith Queen, which the majority of the stuff for my Wraith Queen I found at a garage sale, just bits and pieces wherever you can find them. Boots, if you're looking for boots, a lot of the companies in Barrie or in Aurelia and that at the second-hand markets or whatever, you can find really good cosplay boots there, as well as Urban Planet usually has some good boots as well. So I've gone there to look for boots and stuff. And the other places I've looked up is the antique stores as well for gloves and hats and all that. Antique store is kind of a revolving pot of a whole bunch of hats and stuff that I found. I have other costumes I've built. I built wings for my horse, which was mostly a lot of duct tape. Built over top of fabric that I did to make the wings sturdy enough so that if she bucked or whatever, she wouldn't destroy her wings. And that was for my She-Ra costume. You got to get them used to the wings first before you just stuff the wings on them if you don't like that. But I also cosplay with the ball jointed dolls, these little guys. So a ball jointed doll is a doll that has all the joints in them. It's kind of hard to see. So he has these joints. And that's what makes him a ball jointed doll. He has all these little joints in his knees and his hips. His abdomen, like all of his joints move. So they come in everything you can think of. If you're into fantasy, they come in the fantasy. You can get centaurs, you can get fairies, you can get mermaids, pretty much anything you can think of. If you look up Alice Collections, they'll show you, there's a list of all the people that sell them. So I don't make him, I make some of the clothes for him, but I don't make him. I get him just his body, there's nothing on him, and then you build whatever you want. You can buy it, a lot of this is bought. I made a shirt, but the rest is bought. So his little jean jacket was bought. I made his little necklace. This was actually a keychain. This was a keychain that I turned into his goggles. And then we bought the boots, like I said, Alice Collections, and his pants for Alice Collections. And you can also go to, the other one too is Legend Doll. They have a list of places that have like a list of the doll companies and all that at it. So I do a little bit with them, and I've got 45 of these little guys now. So it's been quite a collection. I have 2 giant centaurs that stand about that high. They're quite big, they're 70 centimeter, 2 big giant centaurs. They're all based off of Percy Jackson, which my son got into when he couldn't read very well, so we got into Percy Jackson, and it kind of blew up from there. And we were cosplaying it, and then he was cosplaying, and then he found a doll, and we built up from there of the Percy Jackson dolls, and everything was built from that. So, and then our other group of dolls that we have are based off of Star Wars. So we have a Thrawn coming and a Governor Price. We're trying to find armor for a Stormtrooper. So it's been a challenge trying to make Stormtrooper armor that size. So the other costumes I've worked on is I've done a whole pile of Lord of the Rings costumes, and built both dwarf and elf, but mostly elves because I like the elves. I made my first set of ears and they didn't turn out that well, so I ended up going to one of the costume shops and I bought a set of ears, and then I remolded the ears because they weren't that pretty, and I remolded them just using a lot of duct tape underneath to hold the ear up inside. So I stuck stuff up inside to hold the ear because they flop. So and then you glue them on your ears. The costume I'm wearing is pretty much out of the closet because I didn't know what Susie wanted today, so a lot of my stuff came out of the closet. This was a garage sale piece. This one here was part of my Twi'lek costume, and then the belt, of course. This here is Adam Smith. He makes these and these. So if you're looking for really good leather work, go to Adam Smith. Trust me, he's awesome. And he also did these ones here too, my goggles. So I got them from him as well. I think his friend did them. That was at Anime North. All the conventions. Lots of conventions. I've done Anime North through to Polaris, and then we've done all Niagara Falls Comic Con, Hamilton Comic Con, lots. Down into the States where I've done Gen Con, I've done Celebration, I've done Celebration was a lot of fun because I went with my Star Wars group, and we went down and we had all our props there, so it was kind of neat to have all the props that we usually have at our events at a huge convention, that people around the world could sit in the Emperor's chair. They could go around and see our speeder bike. They could go around the back and see our tentative. They saw everything, and it was really kind of neat to be able to share all that and share with people our love of Star Wars, because that was one of my first loves, was Star Wars as a kid. So from some Celebration, last year I went to, there's a museum, if you ever get a chance to go, there's a museum called the Strong Museum of Play in New York, and we do a Star Wars event there every year, and they have the most amazing toy museum you'll ever go to, and it's just full of old toys that when I was a kid we used to play with, G.I. Joes, all of it, Ninja Turtles, and so I went there with costumes, and I was able to wear my Jawa there, and I was able to see all the really neat stuff they had, so you can kind of build your other cosplay ideas. So a lot of my ideas come from places I go. A lot of it's historical. I'll take a little historical piece and I'll wing it around and make a costume out of it. I did it with this one, except I'm not wearing the ears. It's the fox. I'm not wearing the full ears. So I have the fox and I have the tail. So all my costume ideas usually come from some sort of historical reference. Last year, my costume I wore at the Steampunk Festival was Bastet, which is the Egyptian cat goddess. And a lot of people get her mixed up with the other cat goddess, but I did the Bastet, and it was a lot of fun being here and being able to do Bastet. She's one of my favorite gods, so I got to do her. And then the year before that, I did, it was Canada Day 1, so I did Super Beaver. So I did Canada's Beaver Girl. And I had the full beaver tail with the beaver ears and the little beaver teeth and the whole 9 yards with a big red dress with all these Canadian leaves all down the back. And every piece I had, I actually found at a garage sale. I found the chunk of leather I needed at a garage sale. A fella had used it for over his coffee table, and I just cut it a little bit more and made the beaver tail out of it. And then my other pieces was a shirt that had Canada leaves all over it, and that matched in with the skirt that I built over. There was a red skirt I found at a second-hand shop that I turned into with all these leaves that I got these tiny little leaves at the dollar store, and I hand glued them all the way down the dress, so it came out, and the dress floated about 4 feet behind me, and this big kind of overture behind me, and it was really kind of neat to wear. It was a lot to trip on, but it was neat to wear. Okay, so the next costume I did for the Steampunk Festival was a Star Wars Twi'lek. So it was a steampunk bounty hunter, and I made the guns, and I did her chest piece part, and I didn't make the goggles, use the same goggles I used, but I did her up, and I made her little goose, and we painted them up. We had gears on the goose. Our idea was to have it so that one of the goose was broken, and we were going to have it all gears and gadgets and all that moving on it, but it kept catching on fire, so that one didn't work out very well. And so we learned one lesson, that you can't use plastic and hot moving parts. We learned that one. So we just went with just the straight riveted down. And one of these days I'll get it finished so that I can make it so that all the parts will move up and down, and that we were using train parts, so it was a little too fast moving for the material that we were using. So, but majority of the costume I built myself, and I had to paint myself blue, so that took it's about 3.5 hours of painting, getting all that blue on. It's a lot of blue, and then getting the eyes in, because I had to wear contacts with it, so that my eyes would match with the blue. And the other one I've done is another Lagoo. One I did was Hera from Star Wars Rebels, but I steampunked her up, and I did that one year for the festival. And that was a lot of fun, because I had to figure out how I was going to get the parts that Hera has in there, so you can see it was Hera. So the little, I'm going to call them underwear, because I don't know what they call it, she wears on her head over top of these Lagoos, and then also be able to put on the goggles as well and be able to see all the parts, because her goggles are a little bit different on the show, so I wanted to steampunk them. So instead of her normal goggles she wore, I did these steampunk goggles. They'll be in the picture when I show you the picture. But the other Twi'lek I've done is I did a different green Twi'lek than Hera. I did a green one that was more fairy-like, so she had her ears were a little bit different than the normal Twi'lek ears, and I had earrings in them, and I steampunked the top of it, and then all down the bottom of it, she had, at the very bottom of the Lagoos, she had all this wrapped wire, and the wire came down to these tiny little bells, and they drove me insane. Never put bells on your costume, because they'll ring until you're going crazy. And a few of the other costumes I've done for elves-wise, I did like Legolas, but I steampunked Legolas one year for that with a bunch of friends that came with me to the Steampunk Festival. It was the third year of the Steampunk Festival. We did elves, and there were 25 of us, and we each did a version of an elf from Lord of the Rings, and but we steampunked them up, and it was a lot of fun doing a group one with elves, and other costumes I did. I did a dragon. That was a lot of fun. It was hard to do, but I was the dragon part, and then the back and everything came down. My friend was in the back half of it. It was a costume we worked on together, and we built this dragon out of pretty much everything inside was duct taped together, and we use a lot of duct tape in all our costumes, but everything inside was duct tape and wood, and then we built the frame, and then it was cloth over top with the red and the gold, and we had to kind of pick up the frame and move around. Another costume we did was a cat bus at Enemy North. We did, there was 35 of us inside a cat bus, and it was massive, huge, big cat bus. And it was with friends that we made this cat bus, and we ran around Enemy North picking people up as we went. And somebody would then pop in underneath and then run along with you, and then they could pop out from underneath it. And it was a lot of fun doing the cat bus. And that was all built with friends that everybody just took a chunk and they kind of built on their section and tried to kind of make it the same, and it was a lot of fun to make. Other events I've done for Toronto Trek years ago for my first costume was a Jedi Knight robe that I made in grade 8 that I redid again when I got into high school. I kind of cheated for my high school test. I remade the robe again, and I added a bogey around it, whereas before I never had one. And I added some other pieces to it, and then I thought, well, I could steampunk that, so then I went back and took the old costumes. Always never throw your costumes out. You've got a closet full, but you'll need spares. So I took that costume and I revamped it, and I turned it into an Obi-Wan Kenobi steampunked. And using the long hair and that, I braided my hair back, and then I had the goggles, and I made the costume up that way. I've done a lot of medieval. I used to joust years ago. My horse called Stormy Santana. They used to call her the Nightmare. So she was well known at the Milton fairs and that for jousting, because she liked to eat other horses. So we did a lot of cosplay with her. I did Star Trek with her. She was Starship Enterprise, and I was captain. And she tried to eat pretty much everybody. She wasn't a friendly horse, but we did a lot of cosplay together. We did elves. We did elves before they were cool. And we did Jedis on her before they were cool. We did her up as, it was really hard to do too. We did her up as one of the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, and 3 of my other friends at Coldwater Fair went as the other members of it. So we went as Pestilence, and she had this crazy, nasty attitude, so she was perfect for it. I wanted to be Death, but my friend beat me out on that one, on her card pull, so I couldn't be Death. So she was a lot of fun, kind of decorate up, and we got all these little fake bugs that we put all over, and we had a lot of fun with building her costume. And so I've done it for horses, and I've done it for dogs. My poor dog, yes, it is not safe. The witches walk every year. I bring out my little dog, and she gets dressed up. Katara, we named her from Avatar: The Last Airbender, and she gets dressed up as little Katara, and so she's come out with us as a witch, and she's done a whole bunch of different costumes. She's been a little airbender, because we do Avatar: The Last Airbender, so she's been a little airbender to a little waterbender. I've done pretty much every character in Avatar. I did airbender, waterbender, firebender. I've done Azula. I've done Azula. Her armor was a lot of fun to make. I actually used paper mache for it when I made her armor, because I couldn't afford the foam. So I got paper mache and a whole bunch of newspaper, and I just built her armor as best I could for a photo shoot at Andy North out of the paper mache and just a lot of newspaper. Friends were bringing me newspaper galore, and so I've done a lot of costumes with paper mache. We did a bear costume with the face part being the paper mache, 'cause back then we couldn't afford the foam. So we did a lot with paper mache. We did, for Babylon 5, we did a shadow costume. And that was quite the trick of a lot of duct tape and PVC piping. So we did the whole frame in PVC piping, and then we painted it black, so you'd have all the, because it kind of looked like giant ants, the shadows, and we had all these parts going out, and then our legs were the center legs. They were just a little bit thicker in the shadows. And then we had built the piece out and up so that it would sit out further, and we built that, and then we did, I did a Minbari, I did Delenn. I did a bone piece, again, out of paper mache, because back in the early 90s, we didn't have a lot of foam and that to work with. It was whatever you had on hand. So I did her, and I did a few other cosplays from the show. Ivanova I did. I did from Star Trek, I did Troy, a lot of Troy. And I did, I'm trying to think of all the ones I've done from Star Trek, a lot of different captains and Klingons. I did a bunch of Klingons where I took a Klingon, and I actually took a Klingon and made a Jedi out of the poor Klingon. And then I've done a whole bunch of historical costumes as well. I've done Cleopatra, I've done Romans and Greeks, and I've done a few princesses. I'm not big on princesses, I don't like pink, so I don't do a lot of pink. But I think one of the favorite costumes I made was with my mom when I was little. We did She-Ra, and it was back in the early 80s, and we took my little white pony Precious, and we put wings on her, which she'd never had on her before, and she was really good about it. The other ponies, not so much. They saw us going into the ring and kind of all left while we were going into the ring, because my dad made it, because my dad decided to help us at the last minute, but if you're going to have wings on a horse, they got to move. So my dad built this thing, and it let whenever I moved, the wings would move up and down. Well, that cleared the ring, and all the little ponies all ran away on me, so it's just her and I standing in the ring going, okay, now what? But my mom helped me build it, and it was her She-Ra top with the crown, which I had to put over top of my riding helmet because they weren't allowing us in the ring with our helmets. So we had to build She-Ra's crown around the helmet. So we built this crown around this riding helmet so that I could take her in the ring. And the other one we did too was Rainbow Bright. My mom helped me with Rainbow Bright, and Precious was white. So we took dye and we dyed her mane and her tail a little bit, because it was dye that was supposed to come out. So when we bathed her to go into her next class, the dye wouldn't come out. So I had to braid her all up, and she had rainbow colored braids in her mane for the horse show. But we had a lot of fun in the costume class with that one too, the rainbows and all that on her, and dyeing my hair with the rainbow as well. So that was a lot of fun. And other costumes I've done, I have a toad. I'm gonna really make myself look really weird here, but I have a little toad, and her name is Opal, and she wears little costumes. And we put her, I should have brought her today, but she'll sit on your hand and you put little hats on her. And so we have every different hat you can possibly think of. She's got a little steampunk hat, she's got a little traveling hat, we make her all these little hats. And the other day my friend helped me make her a little cape. So we put a little cape on her, and she had her little cape up, and she had a little box of flowers in front of her. This poor toad puts up so much from us. But we have a lot of fun with the animals and that, and cosplaying with them. And it's fun, that's what it's supposed to be. If you're not having fun at it, you shouldn't be doing it. So I always say that if someone doesn't like your costume, well, that's their opinion. If you love your costume, it's what you can make, then it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. It's all on, cosplay is supposed to be fun, and that's what it was. I mean, it wasn't called cosplay back when I started, it was just costumes. And most of the time you were in the closet, you never told any of your friends you were going to a Star Trek convention. That was like, no, you don't say anything about that. And if you showed up to a horse show and you had a really great costume, they kind of questioned it, because it was like, what you do, so all night long to build this? And it was like, no, this has been in my closet for a few months. So you just, nowadays it's kind of nice that you can go out in a costume and people don't question it anymore where they used to. And I would say for people that are being bothered online with their costume, turn off your computer. You don't have to, you know, put up with that. Just turn off your computer, walk away from whatever it was. It's your costume. If they don't like it, too bad, that's your costume. Your life doesn't live around a computer. Your life is out there, not online. So anyways, everybody have fun and be safe, and thank you so much.